So the Epstein story is just exploded again. We're talking about millions of pages of secret documents that have just been unsealed. And they're raising some really urgent new questions about some very, very powerful people. Today we're going to zero in on 3 key names that are popping up from these files and explain what we've actually learned. And when I say millions, I mean it. This is a massive document dump from the U.S. Department of Justice. We're talking over 3 million pages of investigative materials. This is one of the biggest releases of information in the entire Epstein case, and it's putting a few very prominent figures under some serious new scrutiny. First up, Virginia Giuffre. Now, if you followed this at all, you know her name. She was one of the most prominent accusers, really at the absolute center of the Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell scandals. Second, we have the billionaire financier Leon Black. His long-standing financial and social ties to Epstein are now being looked at in a whole new light. And third, a name that's making waves right now, Howard Lutnick, who is the current U.S. Commerce Secretary. Some of his past statements are getting a second look because of what's in these new documents. So what exactly are these files that everybody's talking about? Let's break it down and get a really clear idea. Okay, so this isn't just a random stack of papers. We're talking about a huge trove of emails, court documents, even images and videos, all released under something called the Epstein Files Transparency Act. These files are giving us a much, much deeper look at his connections with powerful people. But there's a really crucial piece of context we need to get straight. And this is so important. Law enforcement has been crystal clear about this. Just because someone's name appears in these documents does not mean they're guilty of wrongdoing. You know, a lot of these references are for simple things like scheduling, or they're based on claims that were never verified. The single most important takeaway here is that a name in a file is not a verdict. All right, with that massive disclaimer out of the way, let's turn to Virginia Giuffre. Her story is absolutely central to understanding this entire saga. Virginia Giuffre's story is, well, it's a really difficult but essential part of this whole narrative. Her journey was long, and it was incredibly public. She alleged that after she met Epstein and Maxwell back in the early 2000s, she was groomed and trafficked to wealthy men. Over the next decade, she became one of the most visible accusers, filing lawsuits and even sharing her story in a memoir. In 2022, she finally reached a settlement in her civil case against Prince Andrew, but then, tragically, she died by suicide in 2025. And her family, along with survivor advocates, have been very critical of this document release, basically arguing that it re-traumatizes victims by exposing their identities, all without really holding the powerful accountable. Okay, next up is the financier Leon Black. He's a billionaire, the former CEO of Apollo Global Management, and his name also shows up in these new files, which is raising a whole new set of questions about his ties to Epstein. So what do the documents actually say about him? Well, the new files include a slideshow where Black's name appears next to an unconfirmed allegation that he got a massage at Epstein's direction. Now, it's really important to stress the word unconfirmed here. The document doesn't prove this happened. What we already knew from other reporting is that Black had pretty extensive business deals with Epstein, paying him millions for financial advice. For his part, Black has publicly denied any wrongdoing, but has said he regrets his association with him. And let me just hammer this point home one more time because it's crucial. To be absolutely clear on the legal status, no criminal charges have been brought against Leon Black in connection with Epstein's abuse network. The presence of his name doesn't prove guilt. All right, our third key figure is Howard Lutnick, the current U.S. Commerce Secretary. The new documents have revealed some previously undisclosed contact he had with Epstein that's raising some eyebrows. And this is a perfect example of the kinds of things these files are bringing to light. You see, Lutnick had previously said that he cut all ties with Epstein way back in 2005, saying he was repulsed by his behavior. But the new files have emails that show he was coordinating a family visit to Epstein's private island in 2012. That's 7 years later. Now, Lutnick hasn't been accused of any criminal conduct, but this new information seems to directly contradict what he said publicly in the past. So let's zoom out a bit. Beyond these specific people, what's the broader significance here? Why does this all matter? Well, this massive document release has completely reignited a fierce, ongoing debate about justice, power, and transparency. The central conflict really boils down to this. On one side, you have survivor advocates asking, is this release just exposing victims to more trauma without actually holding powerful people accountable? Then you have legal experts who see these files as a critical starting point, and they're urging for more investigation wherever the documents point to deeper connections. And finally, you've got government officials defending the release, saying it's a difficult but necessary step for public transparency. It's really a fundamental clash between the public's right to know and the need to protect survivors. And that leaves us with the million-dollar question in this whole affair. We have more information than we have ever had before, literally millions of pages of it. But does this massive release ultimately lead to genuine accountability for the people in Epstein's network? Or does it just risk creating more confusion, more speculation, without any clear legal consequences? That's the question we're all left wrestling with.